It'll be one to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy, coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, 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 go!
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
We'll now hear from Dustin Long with the Landmark Newspapers.
Yeah, Jeff, with NASCAR announcing this past weekend it's revised its substance abuse policy to add random drug testing. One thing it did change is that NASCAR will continue to prohibit the misuse or abuse of any drug, so there's not a particular list of banned substances. Is that clear enough for you now that that there's random testing, or does that present questions or concerns about what you can take and what you shouldn't be doing?
Well, I think that when we maybe can sit down with the group, Dr. Black and his group, then if we're taking allergy medicine or we just want to make sure that we're clear on all those things. But I think it's pretty clear. I mean, it's abuse, and it's taking substances that are either illegal or are going to be performance enhancing. Who knows what they could be? But to me, it's very clear, and I know that I have nothing to be concerned about, and I think that it's a great move on their part. I've been saying for a long time that the only real way to go about it is to do random testing, and so I think this is a great step forward for the sport, and I think that they're doing the right thing.
We'll now go to David Caravello with NASCAR.com.
Jeff, you led virtually all of last year's regular season. You didn't win the championship, and now Kyle's basically going to go through the same thing. Can you sort of relate to what his emotions are right now and kind of feel for what he's going through?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different than what we went through where, we missed it just by a small margin. We were in the thick of it all through the chase. But, you never can count those guys out. I mean, they've been so strong. When you're a team that's won, 8 races up to this point of the season, then you can't count those guys out. They can come back and put a string of wins together. I've been saying all year long that the real test for Kyle and that team is going to be when the pressure is on for the championship, and how mature not only is Kyle but this team when it's the adversity that they have to overcome and these types of challenges. So I think this is going to be a great lesson, great test for those guys, and show us all what they're capable of doing. And I still think there's no doubt in anybody's mind what kind of talent Kyle Busch is and will continue to be in our sport. And I know that it's probably been very frustrating for him because 2 weeks in a row it's been something out of his hands. So all he can do is come back and do everything that he possibly can to get that team back into victory lane. He's going to be on full tilt. I know that's for sure, which Kyle typically is, but he certainly will, trying to make up all the points that have been lost.
Once again, that is *1 to ask a question, and we'll now go to David Newton with ESPN.com.
Hey, Jeff, we saw a pretty good battle among teammates last weekend. You and Jimmy went through that last year. What is they really going through their minds now as they try to compete for a title? Are they really going to be like you guys were? It's open, and what's it going to be like for the owner?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I saw some of it from a distance. I was running 6th or 7th place at the time, and it looked like they raced really hard and great racing, and it's awesome to see. I mean, you want to see that, and as teammates, you kind of are torn because if that was one of your other competitors outside of your team, you might rough them up a little bit more than you would your teammate. But it looked like those guys were racing hard. They all three wanted to win really bad, and that's what we want and need to see in NASCAR Sprint Cup racing out there, whether your teammates or not. And I think that last year, Jimmy and I and our teams, and whether we showed it to the media or to the fans or not, we wanted it really, really bad, individually as well for Hendrick Motorsports. And there was a lot of challenges thrown at us, and the competitor and each of us came out to want to win and do whatever it took. And sometimes that was beating on their bumper, or closing the door on them, or whatever it took on the racetrack. But off the racetrack, it's still all about sharing information and making sure that we put the best race car and race team out there week in and week out that we could. So very interested to see if that is how the Roush teams handle it, but certainly look the way they did this past weekend.
We'll now hear from Jason Shalellen with NASCAR.com.
Hey, Jeff, with all your success at Kansas, can you just talk a little bit about, the keys to winning there without giving away too many secrets, kind of what it takes to win there?
I mean, this year you can throw everything out the window. You're talking about a new car, different tires, and even though Kansas is the same racetrack, what it takes to be competitive there, other than having the fastest car, is going to change a little bit. And we've really been searching this year on the mile and a halves, and that's why I said I feel like this test, the testing that we've been doing at Kentucky, especially this one we did last week, should pay off, or at least the things that we learned should transfer over to Kansas better than any track we go to. I feel like Kansas is a little bit flatter mile and a half track, similar to Kentucky. Kentucky's got a lot more grip, so I'm really anxious to get there and see if the things that we've been trying and learning will pay off there. And that's purely just balance and speed and grip. As far as driving the track, I'll probably drive the same line and approach the track the same way that I did even with the older car, just not going to be able to push quite as hard, just not quite as much grip. And that track's been changing each and every year too. The groove's been widening out. The racing just continues to get better and better. And what our success that we had there the first couple of years is not necessarily what's going to be the same to have success there now, but getting the car balanced out there and comfortable to where you can just free it up and continue the momentum through the corner. That's, I think, what we're going to be really looking for this weekend.
We'll now go to Sean Akers with RacingOne.com.
Good morning, Jeff. Jimmy is on the threshold of doing something that only one other driver has ever done, and that's Cale Yarborough. He could win a third straight championship. What would that say about Jimmy and his place in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series history, and just talk about his progression as a driver since he's become your teammate?
Well, I mean, there's not enough I can say about Jimmy and that 48 team. And Chad Knaus, I mean, they've been dominant, to say the least, over the last, 6 years, 7 years. I don't know how many years it's been since they've come in, but, I mean, they've been the team to beat. And the last 2 years, they've shown that with the 2 championships. But you can never count them out, and this year's no exception. I mean, I thought earlier in the year, it just wasn't going to be their year, and yet here recently they've been on a tear and doing everything that they need to do. Even though Biffle's won the first 2 races, they've been right there, right in the thick of things, and putting up a good fight. And those have not been their best tracks. I think their best tracks are coming. The one thing that I hesitate to really go into too much detail about is the history of our sport and comparing what's happened since the Sprint Cup has come along versus with the Winston Cup or the old point system. There is no comparison, and I think that you can't really compare history, even though there's only been one 3-time champion, that's Cale Yarborough. How he did it and where that put him in history versus Jimmy, this is new history, and it's equally as challenging and substantial, but I don't think you can compare the two. And I think it'd be an amazing accomplishment, and maybe even more so, because I think it's even harder to win a Sprint Cup than it was to win a Winston Cup, probably because I haven't won one.